Welcome to the TenNet Indigenous Wisdom Research Center. I am your host, author Tenet Sategn. In this broadcast series, we explore the profound mysteries within our research. Ethiopian esoteric philosophy and alchemy. Our journey into channeling hidden wisdom begins now.
If you were offered the chance, to literally become a god.
Oh, wow, jumping right in.
Right.
Yeah.
But seriously, think about it. To achieve total eternal perfection, to completely transcend every single limitation of the human experience, would you take it?
Most people would probably say yes without even thinking.
Exactly. But what if, the fine print on that cosmic contract said the price of admission was the complete and permanent deletion of the person you are right now?
Right, like a total erasure. It really is the ultimate wager. You're trading existence for evolution.
Yeah, you are. And welcome to today's deep dive, everyone. We're unpacking a piece of source material today that is, frankly, it's one of the most esoteric, intensely philosophical, and honestly slightly terrifying lectures we've ever come across.
It really is. It's intense.
It's basically a map to the deepest secrets of human potential, and it explores the pursuit of wisdom, the fundamental nature of existence, and like we just said, this completely unfathomable price of true transformation.
Yeah, the cost is just staggering when you really get into it.
It really is. So we're asking you, the listener, if you could fundamentally change who you are to become a higher being, would you do it? Especially knowing that the current you would be completely canceled from the registry of the universe.
It's a very heavy premise. And before we really dive into the mechanics of how this transformation supposedly works, I think we need to set some ground rules.
Definitely. What are we actually looking at here?
Right. So the source material is a deep, ongoing philosophical teaching. It's part of a much broader, highly structured curriculum. And it explores ancient schools of thought, the raw mechanics of human nature, and esoteric transformation.
And it pulls from a lot of different places, right?
Oh, absolutely. It heavily references various theological concepts, religious figures like Jesus and Adam, and even ancient mythologies, like they bring in Egyptian gods like Hermes and Thoth.
It's just a total melting pot of ancient wisdom.
Precisely. Which means I need to state a very clear disclaimer right up front.
Oh, yeah, that's important.
Our mission today is to objectively explore the fascinating architectural framework that this text lays out. We are not here to endorse any specific religious viewpoint or theological doctrine.
Right. We're not picking sides.
Exactly. We are acting as your guides to these ideas because regardless of what you personally believe, the psychological and existential questions this framework raises are just absolutely profound.
They really are. It's like we're looking at the blueprint of a very strange, very old building.
That's a great way to put it.
We don't have to live in the building, But we're going to walk through the rooms, and the first room we walk into addresses something I think anyone who has ever tried to study something incredibly deep has felt.
The repetition.
Yes. The absolute frustration of repetition. The speaker in our source compares the pursuit of this high-level philosophical wisdom to a threshing ox.
It's a very specific, very deliberate metaphor.
It is like, an ox that just walks in circles round and round over the exact same pile of grain all day long.
Right.
But I have to admit, when I first heard that, my immediate thought was just, well, why? It sounds incredibly tedious.
It does sound tedious to a modern ear.
Right. And the text notes that these teachings might touch on different ancient schools of thought. I think they use names like Taos, Dirju, Mormori.
Yes, but those are the ones mentioned.
But they are all ultimately circling one singular core truth. So my question is, why not just tell us the secret outright? Why make us walk in circles like an ox? It feels a little bit like gatekeeping.
Well, yeah, that is the default modern reaction, right? We are so conditioned to want the executive summary.
Just give me the bullet points.
Exactly. The 5-minute explainer video. But the source insists this repetition is not a failure of communication. It is a mechanical necessity.
A necessity? How so?
Think about what a threshing ox is actually doing in agricultural terms. The circular motion is not a sign of being lost or stuck. The constant heavy treading of the hooves is required for separation.
Oh, I see.
It literally breaks the physical bond between the usable grain and the useless husk.
So it's not about getting from point A to point B, it's about applying pressure.
Exactly. In the context of this philosophy, the goal of circling the same topics from slightly different angles, whether you're looking at it through the lens of Taos or Durgi, is to separate the grain,
core wisdom.
Right, to separate that core esoteric wisdom from the chaff. And the chaff is the superficial noise, the cultural misinterpretations, and honestly, your own ego.
That makes a lot of sense. If someone just hands you the ultimate truth on a flashcard, you might memorize the words, but you haven't really separated the truth from your own preconceived notions.
You haven't threshed it.
You haven't threshed it. I love that. It actually reminds me of sanding a piece of wood.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Yeah, like if you've ever tried to restore a piece of old furniture,
Yeah.
you don't just swipe a piece of coarse sandpaper across the top once and call it a day.
No, it just leaves horrible scratches.
Exactly. You go over the exact same spot repeatedly, applying pressure, moving in these tiny circles, and you aren't doing it because you're stuck.
You're doing it to wear away the old, rough exterior.
Right. The varnish, the dirt, the old paint, just to reveal the smooth, intrinsic grain underneath. Every single pass removes a microscopic layer of interference.
That is a perfect modern translation of the ox metaphor, actually. Each pass the sandpaper, each rotation to the ox, strips away another letter of misunderstanding.
So the repetition is the work itself.
Yes, the specific words might look different from day to day, but the rigorous process is what extracts the pure truth. But the text introduces a massive caveat here.
There's always a caveat.
Always. Having a map or having the sandpaper is entirely useless if you don't actively engage with it.
Which brings us to the crocodile and the duck.
Yes, my favorite part.
I just love how this dense ancient philosophy suddenly pivots to this vivid, almost cartoonish parable to make its point. It really stuck with me.
It's highly memorable by design. Ancient teachings often use striking, weird imagery to anchor complex behavioral warnings.
So, okay, let's lay it out for the listener. The text describes a river. And in this river, there is a crocodile who is hungry for fish.
Very hungry.
But his strategy is essentially zero effort. He just sits in the rushing water with his massive jaws wide open, waiting for a fish to basically commit suicide by swimming directly into his mouth.
It's absurd when you picture it.
It really is. He sits there all day,
Right.
letting the water rush by, and eventually he gets so exhausted from the passive act of just holding his mouth open that he falls asleep on the riverbank.
He is a monument to passive expectation.
Yes. Meanwhile, there's a duck. The duck obviously doesn't have giant, terrifying jaws, but the duck is active.
Very active.
It dives into the water, it paddles around, it hunts, and it easily catches the fish. And the text adds this hilarious, almost insulting detail that the duck can just waddle up and snatch a fish right out from under the sleeping crocodile's nose.
It's a slightly humorous,
Yeah.
but honestly brutally serious warning against apathy. The crocodile represents the passive learner. It represents someone who shows up to these esoteric lectures, opens their ears.
Or metaphorically opens their jaws.
Right, and just expects the wisdom to wash over them and magically transform them. They want the reward of enlightenment without the exertion of the duck.
They just want to be handed the fish.
Exactly.
Which, honestly, is how a lot of us consume information today. I mean, we sit back, we open our apps on our phones, and we just let the timeline wash over us, hoping we absorb something profound.
We're all crocodiles on our phones. And the text is just adamant about this. You cannot undergo meaningful transformation through osmosis.
No passive absorption.
None. The duck dives in. The duck gets wet. So for you, the listener, this is a moment for some brutal self-reflection.
Are you a crocodile or are you a duck?
Exactly. Are you just letting information hit your eardrums, or are you actively integrating it? The source uses a very specific phrase here. It calls it life practice.
Life practice.
It insists that this wisdom cannot be a hobby. It must become as natural and integrated into your daily existence as eating, drinking, and walking.
Wow. So it's a new way of breathing, basically, not just a weekend seminar you attend and forget about.
Right.
But, okay, if I'm being a duck, right? If I'm diving in and making this my life practice, what am I actually diving for? Because the text takes a really sharp turn here.
It does.
It warns us that we often seek out profound wisdom for completely embarrassing, trivial reasons.
It points out a fundamental flaw in human nature, really. We acquire these incredible tools, and then we use them for incredibly mundane tasks.
The speaker in the source warns against misusing this profound, high-level wisdom for petty daily problems. And the analogy they use here is incredible.
I love this one.
The speaker says that using esoteric wisdom to fix your everyday chores, like trying to get a promotion at work, or curing a minor headache, or like winning a squabble with your neighbor.
It's like carrying a heavy machine gun just to kill a mosquito.
Yes, a machine gun for a mosquito.
It demonstrates a severe misunderstanding of the tool's raw power. I mean, if you have access to a mechanism that can fundamentally alter the nature of reality and your place within it, using it to settle a neighborhood dispute is a tragic, almost comical waste.
It's pathetic, honestly. But wait, if I'm not supposed to use this wisdom to make my daily life better, which, let's be real, is why most people buy self-help books or study philosophy, what am I aiming the machine gun at?
That is the big question.
What is the actual goal of this transformation?
The goal is permanence.
Permanence.
Yes. The text outlines 3 true aims for this kind of esoteric transformation, and they all revolve around escaping our default human condition.
Which is temporary mortality.
Right. Moving from that temporary state into a state of eternal permanence. You're trying to beat the finality of erasure.
Okay, what are these 3 paths to permanence? Because they sound wildly ambitious.
They are. The first path we can categorize as earthly greatness. But this isn't just about being famous for a few years or having a lot of followers on social media. This is about becoming a king, a foundational philosopher, or a historical figure of such immense gravity that your legacy becomes permanently etched into the fabric of this realm.
So you physically die, but your impact doesn't.
Exactly. Your physical body dies, but your name, your ideas, and your impact continue to rule and influence the world indefinitely.
So this is achieving immortality through legacy, like Socrates or Alexander the Great or Shakespeare.
Yes.
They are physically dead, obviously, but they are still very much here in terms of their influence on reality. I mean, we still quote them. We still build societies on their ideas.
Precisely. They have refused to be completely deleted from the earthly register.
Okay, that's path 1. What's path 2?
The second path is spiritual persistence.
Spiritual persistence.
This involves ensuring that after your physical death, you don't just fade away or pass blindly into the ether.
You don't just disappear.
Right. Instead, you maintain a high active status in the afterlife. The text uses terms like returning as a wukabi, which translates roughly to a type of spirit or guardian entity.
So you die, but you keep your consciousness and your agency. You're aware.
Yes. And in this state, you continue to interact with, observe, and influence the physical world, but from a spiritual vantage point.
Oh, wow.
You conquer the erasure of death by becoming a permanent spiritual fixture. You're operating from behind the curtain, so to speak.
That is intense. You're dead, but you're still pulling strings.
Exactly.
So what's the third one?
The third is perhaps the most radical, and it's what we might call physical transcendence.
Okay, that sounds like a sci-fi movie.
It really does. This is the goal of taking your physical body, bypassing physical death entirely, and transitioning into an ethereal or national realm.
Wait, keeping your actual body?
Yes. The text refers to this elevated state or place as tawan. You literally take your flesh and blood and elevate it to a realm of permanence.
You just pack up your bags, physical body included, and move to a higher dimension. No death required at all.
That is the claim. And what is really fascinating is the common denominator among all 3 of these goals.
Beating death.
Yes. Whether you are leaving an immortal legacy, becoming an active spirit, or physically ascending to Tawan, the overarching theme is a profound defiance of the normal rules of the universe.
Because the universe is designed to recycle you.
Exactly. And this philosophy is about refusing to be recycled. You are refusing to be just another temporary blip.
Okay, so we have the map. We know we have to actively dive in like the duck. And we know our target is to beat death and erasure through one of these 3 paths.
Right.
But this is where I need you to explain the actual mechanics to me. Because how does a normal, flawed, everyday human being actually achieve this?
It requires a deep dive into esoteric biology.
Right, because the source material starts getting into what we actually are, biologically and spiritually. And it introduces a term that seems to be the foundation for literally everything else we're going to talk about.
Right.
Yes, Bari.
If you don't understand Bari, the rest of the map is just completely unreadable. Bari translates to natural identity or fundamental essence.
Okay.
The text posits that in all of existence, there were only 10 fundamental natures, or 10 Baris.
Yeah.
Everything that exists anywhere falls into one of these 10 categories.
So it lists things like time, power, thought, and life as these fundamental natures.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the periodic table of existence. Everything is built from these 10 blocks.
A very apt comparison. But when the text applies this concept of Bari to the biological world, and specifically to human beings, it makes a philosophically bold and frankly highly controversial claim.
Oh, I know where this is going.
It states definitively that among all humans, there's absolutely no difference in Bari.
0 difference.
0. A human is a human is a human, Your fundamental essence is mathematically identical to my essence.
And identical to the essence of someone living thousands of miles away.
Or thousands of years in the past.
Okay, wait. I have to call a timeout here.
I figured you would.
I don't buy that. I mean, you walk down the street and you see endless, glaring differences between people.
Of course.
People are vastly different in their intelligence, their cruelty, their compassion, their physical abilities. I mean, some people build rockets and some people are serial killers. How can this text claim our fundamental essence is exactly the same?
The text anticipates that exact pushback. It argues that every single difference you just listed, the cruelty, compassion, intelligence, language, culture, none of that is your bari.
Then what is it?
Those things are your sibe.
Sibe, okay, what does that translate to?
Sibe translates to behavior, character, environmental conditioning, or habits.
Ah.
To use a computer analogy, because I think it helps clarify things.
Yes, please.
Bari is the hardware. Sibe is the software running on the hardware.
Okay, so the hardware is identical in every human being.
Yes. The software varies wildly based on where you were born, what you've learned, and the habits you've formed.
But how do they prove that? Because saying we all have the exact same hardware, the exact same essence, is a massive claim to just throw out there.
The source offers a very pragmatic biological proof for this identical bari. It's what we can call the breeding test.
Right, the breeding test. When I was going through the notes, this stood out to me as such a strange, blunt way to prove a philosophical point.
It is blunt, but it's logically consistent within its own framework.
Okay, break it down for us.
The text states that any human, from anywhere in the world, regardless of how different their sibe is, no matter how different their culture, language, or behavior, can theoretically have a child with any other human of the opposite sex.
True.
This biological compatibility, this literal ability to merge and create new life, is offered as absolute undeniable proof of an identical bari.
And it contrasts this with the animal kingdom to prove the point, right?
Exactly. It points out that a sheep and a camel cannot breed.
Right, obviously.
Why? Because their fundamental essence, their hardware, their bari, is completely incompatible.
They are running different operating systems entirely.
Exactly. Now, a horse and a donkey can breed to create a mule. This suggests their baris are adjacent or similar enough to interact.
But the resulting offspring is usually sterile.
Right, which indicates the match isn't perfect. It's a glitch in the hardware compatibility. But a cow and a donkey? Nothing.
So, because a human from Iceland and a human from Fiji can have a healthy child, the text says, boom, proof. You are running the exact same base code.
Precisely. Now, let's connect this back to why you, the listener, should actually care about this distinction between bari and sibe.
Yeah, why does this matter for the map?
Because if all humans share the exact same bari, it completely reframes how we view ourselves and our potential.
How so?
It means that your individual flaws, your struggles, or conversely, your current greatness, do not come from a fundamentally broken or fundamentally superior essence.
They come strictly from your sibe.
Yes, your habits and your environment.
Which is actually a really comforting thought in a way. I mean, it means I'm not permanently defective. If I want to change my life, if I want to be a better person, I just need to rewrite my software. I just need to change my sibe.
It is very comforting.
Yep.
But here is the terrifying catch that turns this entire philosophy on its head.
Oh, boy.
Changing your sibe, rewriting your software, will absolutely make you a better human.
Oh, yeah.
It might make you wealthier, healthier, kinder, or more disciplined, but it will never grant you the ultimate transformation we discussed earlier.
Wait, really?
Really, you cannot achieve spiritual persistence or physical transcendence just by adopting better habits.
Yeah.
You cannot use software updates to become a god.
So what's the alternative? If changing my habits isn't enough, what do I have to do?
To achieve the goals of this esoteric map, you must go beyond changing your sibe. You must actually change your bari.
Change my hardware?
Yes. You must fundamentally stop being human and become something else entirely.
Which brings us to the absolute cliff edge of this deep dive, the terrifying price of transformation.
It is a steep price.
The text introduces a word here that genuinely gave me a chill when I finally grasped its implications.
Mephris. Yeah.
It translates to destruction, cancellation, or complete dissolution.
Dissolution.
This is the core, non-negotiable mechanism of changing your bari.
So you can't just add to what you already are.
No, you cannot just staple new, magical, divine skills onto your existing human identity. You cannot just read a profound book and become a higher being while remaining yourself.
So what has to happen?
To change your fundamental essence, you must undergo mephris. The old self must be completely broken down and destroyed.
To explain this, the source uses an analogy that we all learned in kindergarten, but they spin it in a way that turns it into pure existential horror.
The caterpillar and the butterfly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Usually we think of metamorphosis as this beautiful, gentle story of growth. You know, the hungry caterpillar goes into a cozy cocoon, takes a long nap, and wakes up with beautiful wings.
The children's book version.
Exactly. But the source text demands we look at the brutal biological and esoteric reality of that metamorphosis.
It gets so dark here.
It does. When a caterpillar, which the text categorizes as a creeping creature akin to a worm, enters the chrysalis to become a butterfly, which is a flying creature akin to a bird, it does not just sprout wings.
It doesn't just put on a butterfly suit.
No. Inside that chrysalis, the caterpillar's body literally dissolves into a microscopic chemical soup.
It completely digests itself.
It does. It unleashes enzymes that break down all of its own tissues. The caterpillar undergoes mephis. It is completely destroyed.
Wow.
And this leads to the chilling philosophical conclusion the text draws. The caterpillar's identity is completely canceled from the register of creatures.
Canceled from the register.
Its soul, its consciousness, its very existence as a creeping thing is gone. It does not exist anymore.
The entity that emerges, the butterfly, is an entirely new creation. It just happens to be built out of the raw, recycled materials of the dead caterpillar.
Exactly. And when you apply this biological reality to the human pursuit of esoteric transformation,
Yeah.
the implications are staggering.
Staggering and terrifying, because if I actually achieve this ultimate goal, if I change my Bari, the original me, the person sitting here right now, with my specific memories, my weird sense of humor, my fear of spiders, my love for coffee, that person literally dies.
Yes.
I am replaced. I am deleted from the universe's hard drive to make room for the new divine entity.
It is a profound paradox. The pursuit of ultimate greatness, the desire to live forever, actually requires the total annihilation of the self that desires it.
That is just wild to me.
It raises the question, is this pursuit of transcendence actually just a highly complex, beautifully disguised form of suicide?
Yes, you are erasing yourself to birth a god. It's like the ultimate ship of Theseus problem, but with your soul.
Oh, let's unpack that analogy because it's highly relevant here.
Yeah.
The ship of Theseus asks, if you replace every single plank of wood on a ship, one by one, over a period of years, is it still the same ship?
Right. And applying that to mephris, if you replace every single part of your human essence, your desires, your consciousness, your biological limitations, with divine essence, are you still you?
And the text seems to be saying unequivocally no.
You are a new ship.
The old ship is gone.
Yeah.
And the source doesn't just leave mephris as a vague theoretical concept. It actually provides a highly detailed map of how this destruction happens.
So Lila gets into the weeds.
It walks us through 4 specific pathways or esoteric houses where this transformation takes place.
This is where things get really wild, because seeing what actually happens to the human identity in each of these 4 houses is a whole trip. Let's walk through them, because I want to know exactly how I'm going to be destroyed.
Let's do it. The 4 houses are named Uzek, Tamal, Sirad, and Dago.
Okay.
Let's examine the mechanics of each one, focusing specifically on what happens to the original human identity, your I, during the process.
Let's start with the first one, the House of Uzek. The text calls this the path of the grafted branch.
Yes. In the House of Uzek, the ultimate goal is to transform into what the text calls a genius or a genie.
A genie, like a genie.
In this context, it means a highly elevated, spiritually charged being. If you achieve the Uzek transformation, you become vastly superior in intellect and power to the average person.
Okay, sounds good so far.
And the text is quite blunt about the social dynamic this creates. It notes that normal people will naturally bow down to you because the power differential is so immense.
But the mechanism of how you become this genius is horrifying. It uses the analogy of tree grafting.
Which is a very physical, intrusive process.
It is. I actually have an uncle who does this with fruit trees, so the visual really struck me. If you want to change a tree, you take a branch from a sweet orange tree, you cut a deep slit into the trunk of a bitter lemon tree, and you bind the branch tightly into the cut.
And what happens biologically over the next few years?
The orange branch physically fuses with the lemon tree, but it doesn't just share the space happily.
No, it doesn't.
The orange branch is more vigorous, it grows faster, it pulls all the nutrients from the roots, and eventually the original lemon tree canopy is entirely pruned away or just gets totally swallowed up by the new growth.
You end up with a massive tree that looks like it has a lemon trunk, but it produces absolutely nothing but sweet oranges.
Exactly. And in the esoteric context of the Uzek path, the sweet orange branch represents the divine spirit, the genius. The lemon tree is your original human identity.
So when this higher spirit is grafted onto your consciousness, it doesn't collaborate with you?
No, it overtakes you completely. The old human identity, my original self, is swallowed up. It's starved of nutrients and canceled.
Just like the caterpillar.
Just like the caterpillar. Yeah. The original me is gone, replaced by the fruit of the spirit that hijacked my root system. So in Uzek, you are basically eaten alive from the inside by a better version of yourself.
It's a form of total consumption. Now let's contrast that with the second path, the House of Tumol.
The House of Tumol.
This one is referred to as the dual vessel.
Okay, if Uzek is being swallowed, what is Tumol?
The House of Tumol operates on a principle of stark dualism. This is where the text heavily references those ancient Egyptian mythologies we mentioned earlier.
Right, Hermes and Thoth.
Yes, specifically pointing to figures like Hermes or Thoth, who are often credited in esoteric traditions as the foundational architects of global philosophy, writing, and magic.
And the visual the text gives for this transformation is incredibly striking.
It's unforgettable.
It tells us to imagine a being that is split right down the middle, horizontally. It's a bird on the top half representing the divine, the infinite, the soaring intellect.
And a human on the bottom half.
It is such a powerful mythological image. The new divine identity, the bird, sits on top. It controls the intellect, the vision, the speech, the high-level decision-making.
But the old human identity is not completely destroyed like in Uzek.
No, it's not.
The bottom half, the body, the hands, the stomach, the legs, is retained.
But wait, when you really think about the psychology of that, I mean, the tragedy of Tumol is awful.
It's pretty grim.
The original human isn't a partner in this arrangement. It's a subjugated vessel. The human body's only job in this dynamic is to walk around, digest food, and carry the divine bird brain from place to place.
It's essentially a biological chauffeur for a god.
Yes, a chauffeur. The original you is still there, technically. You haven't been completely erased, but you are a prisoner in your own body, completely subservient to the entity on top.
You have no agency.
None. You just do the heavy lifting while the divine mind thinks deep thoughts. Honestly, I don't know which is worse, being swallowed in Uzek or being subjugated in Tumol.
In Tumol, Mefres doesn't completely erase the physical form, but it entirely erases the human agency and will. The human becomes a mindless drone serving the divine intellect.
Which leads us to the third path. The House of Sirad.
Ah, Sirad.
This one is wild because it involves literal birth or sudden possession. They call it the changeling path.
The Sirad path achieves transformation in a very sudden, highly disruptive manner. There is no slow grafting or splitting of halves here.
No, it's instantaneous.
The primary mechanism described here is a kind of esoteric substitution, often occurring right at birth.
Right. So the text describes a scenario where a normal human woman gets pregnant. She goes through the whole pregnancy expecting a normal human baby.
Of course.
But through the mechanics of the Sirad house, the child that was going to be born, the human soul that was supposed to inhabit that body, is abruptly canceled from existence.
It's deleted from the registry before it even takes its first breath.
And in its exact place, a godlike, towering, angelic child is born.
The text describes these Sirad beings as instantly recognizable. Even as children, they are powerful, imposing, and clearly not of normal human descent, despite having mundane human parents.
There are completely different bari.
A different hardware,
Yeah.
substituted at the last possible second.
But the text also says the Sirad substitution can happen to a full-grown adult, right? Like a sudden, massive possession.
Yes. In the adult variation of Sirad, a normal person going about their daily life might suddenly be overtaken by this new entity.
Just out of nowhere.
The text uses a very practical example. It describes someone who has never studied languages suddenly speaking perfect Arabic or English fluently.
But the terrifying detail here is that the original person has zero memory or consciousness of these new actions.
Because they aren't there anymore.
They're just gone.
In the Sirad path, Mefres is instantaneous and total. The original consciousness is completely overwritten without warning.
It's like a computer reformat.
To use our earlier analogy, it's as if someone took a cassette tape, with the recording of your life on it and just hit record to lay down a heavy metal album right over it.
Oh, wow.
The physical tape remains, but the music of your life is gone forever. You don't get to experience the transformation. You are just evicted.
That is deeply unsettling. I mean, look at these three paths. In Uzek, you are swallowed by a graft. In Timal, you are subjugated as a chauffeur. In Sirad, you are instantly substituted and overwritten.
They all involve losing yourself in a really traumatic way.
But then the source material arrives at the fourth house, which it seems to elevate above all the rest as the ultimate master path.
The House of Durgu.
The House of Durgu, the planted seed.
The House of Durgu is presented as the most synthesized, sophisticated approach to changing one's bari.
Okay, how is it different?
Well, unlike Sirad, where God takes over instantly, or Uzek, where the takeover is violently parasitic, the Durgi path involves planting a tiny seed, referred to in the text as Zerga of divinity, inside a normal human being.
And this seed can be planted at birth or introduced later in life.
Correct.
And the mechanism here is so much more insidious, or maybe beautiful, depending on how you look at it.
It's definitely more subtle.
Because the person who receives this seed doesn't instantly become a towering god or start speaking ancient languages. They grow up entirely normal.
Very normal.
The text specifically notes that this person cries as a baby, they play in the dirt as a child, they go to school, they get a job. To the outside world, and even to their own conscious mind, they are just a regular human.
But that seed is inside them, quietly germinating.
Right. And over time, this slow growth creates a profound shifting internal duality.
For a long time, the person contains two distinct operating identities. The text identifies them simply as I, which is the original human, the mortal consciousness with all its normal, mundane desires.
And he.
Yes. He, which is the divine seed, the growing esoteric essence.
So you basically have a divine roommate living in your soul.
You could call it that, yeah.
And as we dig deeper into how this works, we see how this roommate dynamic plays out. Because, a house divided cannot stand, right? This situation cannot last forever.
It absolutely cannot. The fundamental rule of the Durgi path is stated clearly. As the divine seed, the he, grows stronger and takes up more space in the person's essence, the human desires, the I, must necessarily die out.
It is a slow, methodical starvation of the human ego.
Exactly. The human doesn't die physically, but everything that made them a specific human personality begins to wither.
The source material actually provides a deeply personal, surprisingly mundane anecdote to illustrate exactly what this feels like.
It's a great example.
The speaker in the text is talking about his own past. He says he holds a degree from a place called Kotebi. He talks about how he used to want to be a teacher.
A very normal ambition.
Right. And he even thought about starting a chicken farm, raising little chicks, just totally normal, average human goals.
And what does he say about those goals now, having walked the Durgi path and allowed the he to grow?
He says that the thought of going back to that old life, the mere thought of standing in front of a kindergarten class holding a notebook or chasing chicks around a farm would feel exactly like walking into a graveyard.
A graveyard.
It is entirely, irrevocably dead to him.
It is a brilliant, grounded illustration of a cosmic concept. Why does the kindergarten classroom feel like a graveyard? Because the I that genuinely wanted those mundane things is literally deceased.
Wow.
The he, the esoteric wisdom, had consumed the space where those worldly ambitions used to live.
So it's not just a career change?
No, this isn't about changing your mind about your job. This is about the complete extinction of your former psychological and emotional framework.
Let's bring this back to you, the listener, for a second. Have you ever experienced something like this on a micro scale?
Most people have, I think.
Right. Have you ever grown so much, either intellectually, emotionally, or spiritually, that you look back at what you used to desperately want 5 or 10 years ago, and it looks completely alien to you?
Like it belonged to someone else.
Exactly. You look at an old relationship you cried over, or a job you stressed about, and you can't even fathom why you wanted it. It feels like looking at the desires of a stranger.
Most of us have experienced that shedding of old skins to some degree. It's a natural part of human maturation.
But what the source is describing here.
Right, what the source is describing in the Durgi path is that exact feeling magnified to a cosmic, absolute scale. It is a total existential transformation.
The human I is slowly starved of its desires, its attachments, its fears, until it simply ceases to operate.
Leaving only the divine he in complete control of the vessel.
But wait, if the I dies out entirely, hasn't the human just been erased again?
That is the big question.
How is Durgi any better than being swallowed in Uzek or overwritten in Sired? If my desires are gone, if the I is a graveyard, isn't that just Mephris by 1,000 cuts?
That is the ultimate tension of the text, and it is a brilliant question to ask. If the human dies, what was the point of the human existing in the first place?
Right.
This tension is resolved in what is arguably the climax of this entire philosophical framework.
The mirror analogy.
Yes, the mirror analogy.
Okay, let's get into this, because this is where the map points to the actual treasure.
It is. The text uses a specific historical or mythological figure, Yared, as the example of the ultimate successful fusion.
Okay, Yared.
It says that in Yared, the flesh became divine, and the divine became flesh. It also mentions this was the original plan for Adam, but it failed.
So the goal of Durgi isn't just replacement.
No, it is perfect integration. How do you merge two completely different natures, the flawed human and the infinite divine, perfectly, without one destroying, eating, or subjugating the other?
The source introduces the analogy of a perfect mirror.
Right.
It tells us to imagine looking into a flawless pane of glass. You stand in front of the mirror, and you look at your reflection. The reflection looks back at you.
Now ask yourself, in that moment of perfect reflection, where does the viewer end and the reflection begin?
Well, they're entirely dependent on each other. If I move my hand, the reflection moves its hand simultaneously. There is no lag. There is no separation of action.
Exactly. In the act of seeing, you cannot separate the two entities. If the reflection weren't there, you wouldn't be seeing yourself.
And if you weren't there, the reflection wouldn't exist.
Right. In that moment of pure connection, the viewer and the reflection are perfectly simultaneously one.
Whoa. So in the highest form of the Durgi transformation, the human and the divine become the viewer and the reflection.
Yes. This is how the Durgi path solves the terrifying horror of Mephris.
Okay, I see it now.
In the house of Uzek, you are swallowed as food. In Timel, you are subjugated as a slave. In Sirad, you are substituted and deleted. But in the ultimate culmination of Durgu, you are not destroyed.
You become the perfect mirror image of the divine.
Exactly. The human flesh, the human mind, reflects the divine essence so flawlessly that there is no longer any distinction between the two.
The I and the he merge into a single, unified gaze. You haven't been erased. Your Sibe, your software, has been so perfectly aligned with the divine Bari that the two act as one.
The human will doesn't die. It freely chooses exactly what the divine will chooses, simultaneously, forever.
It's like you finally found the exact frequency where both signals can broadcast on the exact same channel without any static.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
The human isn't canceled, it is fulfilled. It's not a beautiful suicide anymore, it's a perfect synthesis.
It is a stunning philosophical conclusion to a very dark, rigorous journey. It suggests that true immortality, true permanence, isn't about running away from your human nature.
Or hating your physical form.
Right, but about refining it through the threshing floor, through the active diving of the duck, until it can perfectly reflect something eternal.
This entire deep dive has been a map through some incredibly dense, slightly terrifying, but honestly undeniably beautiful terrain.
It's been quite the journey today.
We've gone from an ox walking in circles in the dirt, to a caterpillar dissolving in a cocoon, to the perfect, infinite mirror of the divine. And as we wrap up, it brings us right back to that question I asked you at the very beginning.
Would you change if it meant the current you had to be deleted?
It's a question that demands deep reflection. And I want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to mull over, something that builds directly on the source material we've explored today.
All right.
We've talked extensively about the terror of Mephris, the fear of losing our identity, of being canceled from the register of existence.
It is the most foundational human fear, I think. We fear the chrysalis because it means the definitive end of the caterpillar.
And let's be honest, we really like being caterpillars. We know how to crawl. We know what leaves taste like. The dirt is familiar.
It is.
The idea of dissolving into chemical soup to become something we can't even comprehend is terrifying. We hold on to our mundane desires, our little chicken farms, and our kindergarten notebooks because they are ours.
Exactly. We cling to our limitations because they define our current reality.
But if this philosophical framework is true, if our truest, most permanent, and most elevated selves can only be achieved by allowing our current limited identities to dissolve, then perhaps our fear of losing who we are is the exact thing holding us back from what we are meant to be.
The caterpillar must die for the butterfly to fly. There is no other way.
So the question you must ask yourself isn't just whether you are willing to change your habits. The question is, are you clinging desperately to the life of a caterpillar, or are you finally brave enough to step into the cocoon?
Are you a caterpillar, or are you ready for the mirror?
Thank you so much for joining us on this incredible deep dive. Remember, we've handed you the map today. We've shown you the esoteric paths, the traps of the crocodile, the horror of the graphs, and the ultimate destination of perfect synthesis.
But a map is just a piece of paper unless you use it.
The map is in your hands, but you have to be the one to dive in and walk the path. We'll see you next time.